Hi, my name is Ayaka. I am a junior here at Eastern Michigan University studying marketing and management, and I am taking business communications with you, Megan Andres. This is my note card. It's actually not a note card, it's a paper with my note card notes on it. I couldn't find any note cards. And before I begin, I just want to say I'm really nervous. I'm not good at public speaking, so I might get really nervous a few times. I practiced a billion times and I'm still going to get it wrong. Okay, so you gave me permission to study the 3 external factors that affect Sprint in a negative way. And so before I go into that, a little background. So I did some research on Sprint because when I was in middle school, Sprint was huge. It was big. It was as big as Verizon. Everyone had it. And nowadays, I don't know a single person that has Sprint. So doing some research, Sprint has gone through kind of a lot. It went through a financial crisis. It was in debt. It actually also went through an upper management level problem, appointing a new CEO. And while this is all going on, all these horrible things, it actually accumulated a bad reputation too. So Sprint has gone through a lot. But 3 external factors that don't help their current situation is competition with other mobile services. The competition is amazingly high in the wireless industry. New trends and current trends and new technologies that Sprint just can't keep up with. And lastly, they have issues with other companies that actually aren't in their competitive zone that aren't willing to work with them. So, because the competition in Sprint is so high, Sprint is really pressured to do well. Because they have such a bad rep, they need to up it up even higher than Verizon or AT&T or T-Mobile to do well in the industry. So, little background. They do a lot of costly promotion. So Sprint does a lot of things. They take a lot of risks that sometimes don't end up well, and they have to take these risks because the competition is so high. They need something to compete with. So, for instance, a few years ago, I think it was 3 exactly, Sprint came up with a promotion that sounds ideal but isn't actually ideal. So this promotion was that if you switched from AT&T or Verizon, they would give you half off. Great, awesome, half off on your bill. That's awesome. Woo! The only problem with this is that it went through a lot of problems with calculating it because a lot of us have different plans. So I have a different plan. You have a different plan. He has a different plan. Everyone has a different plan. And because of this, it became a lot of time and energy, and it was too complicated. And on top of that, it lost a lot of money. So this plan was a very big red flag. Flash forward to 2015, a month ago, in November, Sprint has decided to promote a new plan, and this plan is really similar to the one I just told you. This plan was that you get half off your carrier. So if you switch from Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, say you're paying $50, now you only have to pay $25 with AT&T, sorry. And they also would give you a $650 switching cost. So already you're like, oh my God, $650 and half off? Great plan. Yes, and again, it's a great plan, just like it was last time, but the only problem is, just like last time, it's too complicating. A lot of critics say that it's the same plan, except now this time you're adding $650. So these plans occur because their competition is so high and they need something to compete with. The problem is their stock has already gone down 3.9% this year. They can't afford it. They're already going from a low place to an even lower place to an even lower place. But to make things worse, it's not actually just their competition. And all my main points kind of connect, which I think is really cool. So for instance, Sprint is really struggling with new trends and current trends and new technologies. So a really big thing nowadays is connected car markets. And this is where, you take your phone and it connects to your car. So you can unlock it, you can play music, you can turn on the heat seats. I know one of those are really cool. You can turn on the air. You can do everything nowadays. And it's a really big, high market. It's really popular nowadays. And Sprint has no foot in it. I mean, none. No investments, nothing. And big carriers like AT&T have been investing for years. So when new technologies come out like that, Sprint is one step behind. And being one step behind doesn't sound that bad, but when you're already in a low position, you have no room to spare. But it's not even new technology that makes it worse. Sprint suffers from keeping up with trends, and trends go in and out every day. It's hard to keep up with, but it's vital to keep up with. So, do you remember 2-year contracts? We had 2-year contracts I was in early high school. They were the big thing. Nowadays, we do rentals, we do plans, we do more of a monthly basis. So, 2-year contracts started depleting when I was in 8th grade. It's been going downhill ever since, and many of the major carriers noticed this. They recognized this, and because of this, they abolished it. Verizon abolished it. T-Mobile abolished it. The only company that hasn't abolished it is AT&T, but that's because they're one of the biggest ones. They can afford to keep it if they want to. But for companies like Sprint, they can't afford it. And Sprint was actually the second last mobile carrier to get rid of it, which is not okay because Sprint, when doing so, you lose customers because say I'm a customer and I want a monthly rate plan instead of a 2-year contract. Well, Sprint doesn't have it. I'm not going to Sprint. So that was a really major problem with them. One of the biggest problems, actually. But it's not even just current trends. So this sounds weird, but competition with companies that aren't in your competition. So LTE, which is long-term evolution, is high-speed data. That's the easiest way I can put it. And nowadays, we all use internet. I'm using internet right now to do this. I use it when I check Twitter. I use it when I email people. It's the biggest kind of revolutionary invention. And we eat it up. We eat it up so much. We use it every day. And because of this, it's really important. It's a huge market. I mean, all of us, when we want to send something, we look at our bar, and if it doesn't say LTE and it says 4G, we all panic. So a really big part of being in the wireless industry is LTE, and specifically Alaska. So Alaska only has 2 carriers that provide LTE, and it's Verizon and AT&T. Sprint and T-Mobile have nothing over there. No LTE, zero, zip, none. The problem with this is that, well, if you're in Alaska and you want to get a carrier, why would you want to get the carrier that doesn't offer LTE in your area? So something interesting happened. In August, Alaska Communications, which is a wireless carrier over there, had LTE towers, and they wanted to make a deal with a wireless carrier. So, this is Sprint's time to shine. However, the problem is that because of bad reputations and bad public image, Alaska Communications only wanted to work with the top tier, which was Verizon. So, in essence, even though Alaska Communications and Sprint had no competition with each other, it sided with Sprint's competition, and because of it, Sprint lost out. And literally for no reason. It's just a bad reputation. The problem with this is that because of it, now Sprint still has 0 LTE towers in Alaska, while Verizon just added even more, which creates the gap of their competition even bigger and bigger. And it happens, though. Companies choose companies that they know they're going to do good business with. What I find interesting about Sprint is that with all the points I've listed, if you notice, they're all really interconnected. One point affects another point, and then another affects another, and then they all just end up affecting each other. Evidently, Sprint having a bad reputation and a bad, I guess, history is the biggest factor in all of it. But the 3 external factors, competing with its mobile services and new trends, new technologies, current trends, as well as competing with companies that aren't even in the competition zone, are the 3 external factors affecting Sprint negatively.